Hello, everybody. It's George from Ireland. Well, thank you for returning to the channel. What's going to happen? How will they elect the next pope? Well, the pope's funeral is coming up on Saturday, and sometime after that, all the cardinals under the age of 80 shall foregather in the Vatican City, and they will meet in a conclave, as in cum clave, with the key, ceremony locked in. By the way, the late Pope's apartment has been ceremonially sealed by, is it the Dean of the College of Cardinals already? So they will meet in the Sistine Chapel to elect the next Pope. The Sistine Chapel, it's got the name as in Pope Sixtus had it built. Michelangelo did those marvelous paintings on the ceiling. So the cardinals swear not to disclose the proceedings of the conclave. But I remember Cormac Cardinal Murphy O'Connor, after the 2005 conclave, said, I voted, we voted, and then that's actually automatic excommunication, but never mind. He wasn't deposed as a cardinal archbishop. He's now dead. So the cardinals are meeting in their capacity as the College of Cardinals, as in it's a electoral, not educational college. And they are only allowed out in case of an emergency. So they're permitted to communicate with the outside world only regarding their necessities. Food and drink are brought in. They can send their clothes out, their bedding for laundry, and they receive fresh raiment and bed sheets in exchange. But the idea is partly so they can't be swayed by persuasion or threats or offered inducements whilst in there, and they will also come to the point. They're not there to read newspapers or chat on the phone and watch the box. So the papal conclave could take from a few hours up to 3 years, as it did once in the Middle Ages. But the 2013 conclave and the 2005 conclave, they both concluded within 48 hours. So 2 rounds of voting in the morning, 2 rounds of voting in the afternoon, and then a period of reflection and prayer. They believe they're guided aright by the Holy Spirit. Ideally, they will elect someone by a 2/3 majority. Now, so in the principle, could happen after only 1 round of voting, but I've never heard of that happening. So we don't know the procedure, how people are nominated, and they're not to say, well, these were the candidates or these were the arguments pro or con whichever contender and so forth. So they write on a piece of paper bearing the name of their preferred candidate, one candidate, and it says eligio cum summum pontifice. I elect as the Supreme Pontiff. They're put into this silver urn. The names are read out, and I don't know who's totting up how many votes for each person. What if you can't read the chap squiggle? So if they can't achieve a 2/3 majority after 33 rounds, they'll go for a simple majority. Presumably they've whittled it down to 2 candidates by that stage. So each time a ballot doesn't elect people, the ballot papers are burnt and black smoke comes out of the chimney. They mix it with certain chemicals to make sure that white smoke comes out when they have elected one. That's why the expression seeing white smoke means you know that an announcement of a decision is imminent. So yeah, they believe that the Holy Spirit is helping them there. So when somebody's elected Pope, then he's asked if he accepts, and he's got to say, does he accept the canonical election as the Roman Pontiff? And he has to say the Latin word accepto as an accept. Well, he is the Pope. To my knowledge, no candidate has so far declined elevation to the throne of St. Peter. So then he's led to the room of tears, and he's clothed in the papal white cassock and the white skull cap and the red slip-on leather shoes. I think red because the blood of martyrs. Remember, I think I said the Vatican tailors will prepare 3 cassocks for a small, medium, and big man because they don't know who's gonna be elected, so it'll roughly fit him, whichever individual is elected. So the room of tears is so called because many a new pope has wept with a melange of pride and joy when he's elected to the throne of St. Peter. And then to receive the submission of the cardinals. And so once this has all happened, between the election and the chaps and arrival on the balcony of the new pope, about an hour will elapse. But anyway, when a decision is reached, the Dean of the College of Cardinals will come into the loggia. That's the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, the largest place of worship of any religion in the world. And the Dean of the College of Cardinals will announce the new pope with the Latin words, meaning, annuncia vobis gaudium minum habemus papem. Okay, I announce to you great joy we have a pope, the most eminent and most reverend Lord cardinal of the Holy Roman Church name. I mean, I think they obviously have the Christian name and then cardinal in the middle and the surname, who takes unto himself the name and then whatever the pontifical name is plus ordinal number. They have the ordinal number because many popes choose a name being used before. For instance, there was already Pope John the 23rd, 1958 to 63. If the next pope who comes along decides to pick the name John, then he's going to have a regnal number 24 to distinguish him from all the previous popes who've assumed the name John. I can't think of any pope besides Peter who went by his baptismal name. So then the pope will come onto the loggia and he will deliver his traditional benediction to the ecstatic crowd. They're always happy, whoever's elected, seems to me, and begin with the words Urbi et Orbi, to the city and to the world. So the past century, the popes have addressed the faithful in Italian. Most cardinals have spent a lot of time in Rome and have been able to master the Italian language. So there have been 266 popes, and something like, is it 214 of them have been Italian. There have been a handful of Germans, Frenchmen, Greeks, Syrians, some of the Greeks from what we now call Anatolia. There's a couple of Portuguese. One was actually born in Portugal, but we think more Roman. Some from North Africa, Tunisia. Is it one Dutchman, two Spaniards, a Pole, a solitary Englishman, Nicholas Breakspear, no Irishman thus far. So popes last a mean average of 9 years because they tend to be very elderly when elected and soon die. To my knowledge, only 2 popes have ever retired. So about 230 cardinals in the world, and only those under 80 are permitted to attend the College of Cardinals, and that's what's going to elect the Pope. Now, since the 14th century, the cardinals are always elected one of their number, but in principle, they can elect any Catholic priest. I heard it's any Catholic man, but someone told me no, they changed canon law in the 1970s. It has to be someone in holy orders. And there was one time in the Middle Ages that they couldn't decide, and so they picked a random anchorite. So the reason cardinals over the age of 80 are excluded is because the Catholic Church doesn't want to elect a man who is of such advanced age he wouldn't serve, he wouldn't effectively as Pope. So the late Pope Francis was the first pontiff from the American continent, and there's this shift of Catholicism towards the global South. In North America and Europe, many Catholics have drifted away from the faith. A lot of people are atheists. Anyway, there are lots of other titles of the Pope: Bishop of Rome, Roman Pontiff, Supreme Pontiff, Servant of the Servants of God, Patriarch of the West, and his throne is the throne of St. Peter, because St. Peter was the first Pope. You may remember in the Gospels, Jesus Christ says, "This is the rock on which I build my church." Of course, Peter wasn't original name. Peter, as in Petra, rock in Greek. That's why Pedro, Petre, whatever, Pierre, and so on. They're all meaning rock in those languages. I give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you say is bound on earth is bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth is loose in heaven. So as in he could make law. That's why they say he's the first Pope. So St. Peter was a fisherman. That's why the Pope's wearing a fisherman's ring. He used to be a fisher of men, as in to gather people to the faith. And he takes the ancient Roman title, the Pope does, pontiff, as in bridge builder. Like pons, pont, and so on. Ponte in all those languages. So he's to build bridges to other communities, metaphorically. So then the new Pope's going to live in the Lateran Palace, the Vatican City, Vatican City and Rome, the smallest sovereign state in the world. So he's got his own army of 50 soldiers, the Swiss Guard, and yes, they really are recruited from Switzerland. They have some sort of police force. Then they've got some ununiformed bodyguards to stop the Pope getting assassinated. So the Vatican issues passports and has embassies, sovereign equality. So as the Vatican's surrounded by Italy, the Italian government helps a lot. When that chap shot dead John Paul II, not dead, wounded him in 1980, the assassin was imprisoned in an Italian prison because the Vatican doesn't even have a prison. These cardinals are meeting. They are very, very senior Catholic priests. So the chain of command is priest, bishop, archbishop, about 640 archbishops in the world, Catholic archbishops. And the Pope can appoint these ones cardinals or not. It's up to him. And it's not that one's archiepiscopate automatically confers the cardinalate. It doesn't. And even the bloke retires in the nursing home, he's usually cardinal to the day he dies. So that's it. It's part of your name, wearing the red hat. But who are the runners and the riders when it comes to this? There are quite a few people who are viewed as papabile, as in for the Italian press in the 1950s coined this term as in popable, who's considered Pope material. Well, there quite a few. You know, they're up to a dozen, and obviously the Vatican itself doesn't publish names. Um, so there's that well-known adage: a man enters the papal conclave as the next pope and leaves a cardinal, meaning the obvious candidate is never the one who gets it. But in 2005, the conventional wisdom was proved wrong. Joseph Ratzinger, he was, what is it, a prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith and something like that, and he joked it was just the Inquisition without the burnings. So he's widely seen as a front runner, and indeed he won and was enthroned as Benedict XVI. But generally speaking, it's usually a relatively unknown candidate who wins. I think another time when the obvious one got it, and that was Pius the XII in 1939. But there's a sense that the next pope should be someone outside Europe, and indeed the West should be a non-white. So the majority of Catholics are now in Africa and Asia. So I think the front runner is Luis Tagle. So Cardinal Tagle, he's the Archbishop of Manila. He's a Filipino. He's 67. He looks 20 years younger. He's very energetic. Obviously, he speaks flawless English. That redounds to his advantage. It's a very global church. He says the church has got to be more accepting of unwed parents, gay people,